A24 has been releasing incredible content. Moonlight was one of my favorite movies of last year. Ex Machina is one of the best movies I've seen in the past couple of years. Green Room was tense and exciting. I really liked Swiss Army Man and the things it had to say. I get excited when I see an A24 film coming out. So I was very excited when I saw It Comes at Night was coming out. I watched the trailers and I thought they were exciting and tense and scary. But I was also very nervous because I was fooled by a marketing campaign by A24. This film I went and saw hit all of the boxes. It hit horror, it hit A24, it looked incredible. But The Witch really fooled me. I didn't like The Witch and I didn't see the hype it was getting. So going into It Comes at Night, I was nervous, but I was allowing myself to get excited. And folks, I'm here to say, I'm glad I got excited for It Comes at Night.
The door was already open when you got there.
Yeah.
It Comes at Night is directed by Trey Edward Shults, and it stars Joel Edgerton, Carmen Ejogo, Riley Keough, Christopher Abbott, and Kelvin Harrison Jr. And guys, I can honestly tell you that It Comes at Night does not have a bad performance. It's not the things that they say as much as it's the things that they do. All of the acting in this movie, with maybe the exception of Kelvin Harrison Jr., are done incredibly subtly. It's really the subtlety of these actors that sell me. Now, Kelvin Harrison Jr. has a little bit more to do, so it's not all just subtlety. Now, I gotta talk about Christopher Abbott and Joel Edgerton, because when these guys are in a scene together, the tension is palpable. These actors are at the top of their game, doing what they have to do to sell me on a scene. There are intense scenes where they're just sitting across from a table, talking to each other, and those scenes are they're just acted and directed so well that it sells what is occurring. Something else that I really enjoyed about this film was the cinematography by Drew Daniels. This movie is gorgeous. He does an incredible job of shooting this location and shooting the events that are occurring. It's a lot of slow, long takes that really increase the tension. And Trey Edward Shults does a great job of directing this film. It's so impeccably directed in every aspect of the film. It's incredibly well paced, but it also has an incredible amount of atmosphere. The best thing that I can say about this movie is that it has the same level of atmosphere that Ridley Scott can create at his best. This movie made me feel claustrophobic. It made me feel isolated. It made me feel afraid simply because of the location that it was located and also because of the way the film was directed and shot. There is specifically one scene that I remember that actually brings me to the edge of my seat right now. It involves Joel Edgerton and Christopher Abbott in a truck, and this scene in a truck is some of the best directed horror I have seen in years, and it's not necessarily a horrific event. What exactly is happening in this scene is not exactly horrific. It doesn't exactly entice feelings of horror necessarily, but the way the score is integrated into the way the shot is the shot is shot and the way that it is directed and the acting, it all blends seamlessly together to create this incredible tense moment. It Comes at Night is a perfect puzzle in which every piece of the filmmaking process comes together and works perfectly. So while sitting in the theater for It Comes at Night, I was hearing a lot of musings behind me, individuals laughing and talking and saying that this movie was not what they expected it to be. And granted, this movie is not what you may expect it to be after watching the trailers and after seeing the marketing campaign. It might not be what you expect, but this movie is a horror film. Don't get me wrong. I've seen people saying that it's more of a thriller. I agree, it's a thriller it's a horror thriller. It definitely is a horror thriller, but this movie is a horror film. And just because the horror is not what you see on the screen does not mean that the horror is not there. Which brings me to my next positive about this movie, which is the screenplay. I'm a huge fan of when writers show us and don't tell us. And here is something where we don't get shown, and we also don't get told. Now, I know that might sound bad, but to a viewer that's really paying attention, you can pick the pieces together, but also the confusion that is created in that setting, in the technique being used, the confusion that is being created is also adding to the horror. This movie works on so many different levels. I was feeling my heart pounding. I honestly thought I was going to have some sort of chest or a heart problem after watching this movie. I was on the edge of my seat. I put my popcorn on the ground. I was literally twisted in my seat up against my leg, up against my chest, like almost in the fetal position, not just because of horror, but because it's also an uncomfortable and a tense film. I have not been this excited about a horror movie since It Follows. This movie's so good. So back to what I was saying about this film not showing or really telling. I think that's doing a disservice. This film does show you. It just doesn't show you in conventional ways, or doesn't show you flat out, and you have to sort of figure it out or interpret the film for yourself. Honestly, I interpret this film differently than other individuals may interpret this film, and that's perfectly fine. That doesn't take away from the horror of the film. In fact, it might even add to the horror of the film. Another thing that I really respect about It Comes at Night is that this film trusts its viewers. This film trusts you to understand what's happening, or trusts you to not understand what's happening and just be fine with that. This film says, hey, we know that you're getting it, so we don't have to explain it to you. Or we know you're not getting it, but that might be the point. It just says we don't have to spoon feed you something. This is not an average everyday watch that you're just gonna be like going here for a straightforward. This is not a straightforward film. This is a film where it challenges you to watch it, and I respect that so wholeheartedly, because in this world of just thrown against horror, just horror that's painted like every other piece, very paint by numbers horror, this is so different and so unique. When this movie ends, and by the way, the ending, just yes. But when this movie ends, you want to know more. It leaves you asking questions to yourself, seeing if you missed something. This movie is not bookends happy-go-lucky. I know what happens, you know what happens, let's talk about what happens. It's not. It's let's talk about what might have happened and what could have happened and what may happen. I left the theater feeling very strange. I didn't know what to do. I was driving very slowly and just really thinking about what this movie was about. And this movie has a lot of things to say. This film was written in a very trying time in Trey Edward Shults' life, and you can see the influences that the actions leading up to this film had on him, and had on this film, and had on the screenplay. This film has a lot to say about loss, and this film has a lot to say about trying to keep a family together. This film has a lot to say about fear and what fear can do to a person. At the end of the day, It Comes at Night is a movie that just left me on the edge of my seat. It's a movie that I want to watch again. It's a movie that I can't wait to watch again. And it's a movie that if I watch it again, the score might get better. I might like this movie even more the second time. I have only gotten to see it once. And while there is maybe one or two answers that I wish would have been answered on screen, I understand why he did not do that, why the film did not get to that point. I get it, and there might have been one or two that I wanted, but I understand. It Comes at Night riveted me till the very end, and it's a movie that I'm going to want to watch again and again, and that's why I'm going to give It Comes at Night a 9.5 out of 10. And also, let me just say that this movie had some very interesting techniques to let you know what's happening at what point in time, but those also throw you off when you try to think back on the movie. It's just such an interesting topic, and I really want to talk about it even more. Honestly, I just can't wait to talk about this movie. So if you want to have a discussion, please go down into the description box below, but make sure to mark anything in which something might be considered a spoiler as such, because I don't want anyone to get this film ruined for them, because I went in totally not knowing what was going to happen. Anyway, thank you for coming to Razzle. Make sure to check out all of our amazing content that's being released here weekly, and make sure to stay tuned for some amazing things that are yet to come. I'm Zach Mourar. Follow me on Twitter at I am Mourar. Follow Razzle on Twitter at Razzle Review, and thanks for watching.